Yo, what is happening, people? Welcome back to another episode of the F1 2022 My Team series here on the channel. Today is the Belgian Grand Prix. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're on the way to 1,000 subscribers, almost there. Can we try and hit it by the end of the year? But if you are up to date with the series so far and a returning viewer to the channel, let's get into this one today. And you will know, as a returning viewer, the last few races have not been great. So hopefully we can have a bounce back today in Spa Francorchamps in the Belgian Grand Prix. Just checking out our facilities there. I'm looking to get an upgrade in the engine department, but we don't have enough money. We will after this race though, so we can try and pick that up afterwards. Waiting for a few upgrades to come through, or just one upgrade actually on the chassis, which should be here I believe after the next two races, because we have a triple header. It is Belgium and then Zandvoort and then Monza, so triple header here back to back. The last two races, Hungary and France, absolute stinkers. But let's get into Belgium today. Like I say, try and have that recovery, I was going to say season, but recovery race in Spa right now. Getting into the first lap in qualifying here. Currently sat in P19 after our previous. Coming through turn 1. Turn 1 I really struggled with all weekend, you know, every single lap. I don't know what it was. I was hitting the braking point, but turning in just didn't feel like I had the car underneath me. Coming through Eau Rouge now and Radion. Very fun to drive on a wheel and pedal setup. On controller was an absolute nightmare, but now we have the wheel and pedals just absolutely glued to the track there. So much downforce coming up the hill at the end of the longest straight on the F1 calendar year, into the braking zone and going a lot quicker than our previous lap. You can see that delta flying up. Even though we went red in sector 1, we are now 3/10 up in the delta, just coming through the end of the Kemmel straight there. Through this corner, I'm not too sure on all of the corner names. That's a very tricky one downhill. Now just throw it through this left hand there, and then as we head again into a tricky corner. This one was the second hardest corner all weekend, as well as turn 1. Didn't know how to take it. The AI seemed to take it flat out. It feels like, anyway. There's a massive problem on F1 2022 with the AI. A lot of people have been complaining about it. A lot of people have been noticing it. If you watch the Hungarian Grand Prix, Latifi was like 16 seconds ahead of us before we finished that race. So yeah, there's definitely a big problem with the AI. But getting into Spa, we're going a second quicker in our delta, a whole second faster, just coming through towards the end of sector 3 now, or towards the middle actually, because this is a long straight-ish. It's not a straight, it's a big turn, but you're flat out and you don't have to brake or nothing. So basically a straight, if you ask me. Down into the final chicane. Very tricky to get the chicane right as well. Big curbs can definitely unsettle the car and lose a lot of grip if you get on those curbs. Hitting that DRS point right as we cross the line. 1.17 tenths quicker. What a lap that was. That puts us P11, faster than both Alfa Romeos, Bottas and Zhou Guanyu. They are down in P12 and 13 respectively, and we finished that session in Q1 in P14. So we actually make it through to Q2 in this session here, a complete opposite of what happened last time out in Hungary. Dan Ticktum, our teammate, finishing dead last. Esteban Ocon struggling in Alpine as well. P21 actually. I was going to say 19, but it's 22 obviously in my team. So yeah, struggling for for that Alpine driver there, Esteban Ocon, which we love to see. We pray on Esteban Ocon's downfall. Holding grudges over here. Getting into Q2 though, you can see that sun has gone away. Max Verstappen out of the session in Q2. Speaking of the Hungarian Grand Prix, the man who has just won it as of the time I'm recording this, he comes through, and that's a big crash in qualifying. Max Verstappen with his championship rival, I believe that was Charles Leclerc, massive collision, just stayed on the racing line, didn't get out the way, and Verstappen is out of this session. So that is massive. He's not going to be able to put a lap in this qualifying session here in Q2. So getting into our lap, taking a deep apex out of the chicane there, down into turn 1, actually hitting the apex, but a bad exit coming out of turn 1. And yeah, Verstappen, so obviously if he's not put a lap in, all we have to do is set a representative time and we will finish ahead of Verstappen in this session. So that is what we like to see, but then in the race we've got a really fast car behind us, so it doesn't really matter. Who knows? Onto the straight now. We've been struggling for straight line speed all season. You will know that if you're up to date. Straight line speed has not been our forte, but we're hitting heights of 208 miles an hour down this straight. Because we did put a really low downforce setup on. We had setup struggles 2 races ago in France. Have we got the setup right this time? Like I say, it's the longest straight on the F1 calendar. I can't speak today. Longest straight on the F1 calendar. So we put a really low downforce setup on, trying to maximize our top speed, and we go green
through sector 1, so clearly showing we do have a lot of pace. I don't think we've hit 208 mile an hour at all this season. I don't think even we've hit 200 mile an hour this season, never mind 208. So running this low downforce setup, showing the speed that we do have now on the straights. Of course, still not ideal, but it is what it is. Very tricky section. The tyres, especially at this point on the track, overheat so much. This right-hander, so hard to get right without losing the back end. Managed to straddle the curb though and keep it straight as we head towards the end of the lap, with Lewis Hamilton taking the fastest lap of this Q2 session. Green in sector 2 for us, sorry, as I've just headbutted the mic, so sorry if you heard the noise then. But yeah, coming through now the chicane, touching that inside curve slightly for rotation, and again trying to get on the curve for extra rotation, but not to unsettle the car. Hit the DRS point, cross the line, and it is good enough for P5 at the moment. Obviously not everyone's ran, this is the first lap of the session, but faster than Mick Schumacher in the Haas. The Haas cars there split by me and Norris at the time, but now Vettel even faster than Schumacher. Mick Schumacher struggling here, even the Aston Martin, which is just as stinky a car as ours, faster than Mick Schumacher. We go again though, because now you can see the sun is back out. Track temperature increased, and we're already green in the delta as we head towards turn 1, missing the apex, out braking ourselves, but so much grip on the exit. We get such a good launch coming out of turn 1, nearly 2 tenths up just through turn 1, showing that track temperature increased, so much more grip now that the sun has came out and the clouds have moved away, and giving us that speed through turn 1. We're going to have that advantage of that speed all the way down the straight as we come up through Eau Rouge and Radion and get towards the end of the straight now, breaking up the 50-meter board, throwing it in 4th gear, touching the curb a little for that extra rotation, get the car just exactly where we want it, half throttle as we come 5th gear, now towards the downhill braking zone, very tricky, try not to lock up that inside right. We let the car run wide a little bit as we turn, hit that apex, get back on the throttle. Down to 4th gear, just throw the car in, try and keep it within track limits as we do. A bit of a correction there on the steering wheel, costing us a bit of time. Still up in the delta though. Qualifying is complete. We are still sat in P13 ahead of Sebastian Vettel and I was going to say Mick Schumacher, and I was going to say rest in peace to Michael Schumacher, but of course rest in peace to Sebastian Vettel as well. He is retired from Formula 1, he's just announced the other day. But anyway, back to our lap, braking again at the 50-meter board, down to 3rd gear, short shift to 4th on the exit for extra grip. Like I say, so hard to not lose the rears there. We have to correct a slight bit of oversteer right before it kicked in as we head down the straight now. Cost us a bit of time through that final part of sector 2 or the beginning of sector 3. Up 2 tenths in the delta still, all to play for still into the chicane. Can we get an increase in time through the chicane? Braking at about the 100-meter board, taking a lot of curb on the inside there to get rotation and a better exit for the second part of the chicane, but taking too much curb and costing us time there, crossing the line faster than our previous lap, but still we did lose a bit of time there by getting on the curbs. But P12 in this Q2 session, we're not through to Q3, yet to make a Q3 appearance, but we were really close to it. Well, a few tenths, about 5 tenths off. Mick Schumacher there getting a grid penalty, as well as Charles Leclerc getting a grid penalty for that collision with Verstappen, but Mick Schumacher also getting a grid penalty. Leclerc's penalty won't affect us, but that moves Schumacher even further down the pecking order. Maybe that's why he didn't go again for another lap. But let's get to the race, starting from P12. Can we turn this into some points?
For today's round of the Formula 1 World Championship. It's a race that the great Ayrton Senna won 6 times, and in 2019, Charles Leclerc became the first driver to take their maiden win here since Michael Schumacher back in 1992. Spa Francorchamps today, a circuit that spans 4.35 miles. There are tons of elevation changes along the way too. 19 corners making up this circuit, with 9 of those to the right and the remaining 10 to the left. This track's a great one for fans of pure speed, and the average lap speed comes close to a whopping 145 miles per hour. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. It's Carlos Sainz in pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Norris, Charles Leclerc, they've taken a grid penalty, and Bottas, Ricciardo, Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, the owner driver, Vettel, Hamilton. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Alex Albon and Gasly. Magnussen, they've taken a grid penalty. Latifi, Mick Schumacher and Esteban Ocon. Tictum, Joe, Verstappen, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. It's race day yet again, and joining me for a chat is Anthony Davidson. And our racers are certainly in for a rough day today. What will you be watching out for as they head into turn 1?
Well, the start of the race is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts. You have to hope that everyone is able to get off to a clean start, and this is possibly the trickiest part of the entire race. So many drivers in such a small space, and finding your braking point into turn 1 as well. It's a testament to the driver's skill that there aren't more incidents.
So Max Verstappen then, who we said was going to be starting behind us in P16, is actually starting P21. Must have took an even bigger grid penalty with an engine change or something. Who knows? But he's going to be further back on the grid. We've got a fast car behind us. Will he be able to catch us by the end of the race? Who knows? We're staying on board for the start of this race. It is lights out and away we go. We get off to a decent start. You can see that AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda struggling alongside us as we head into turn 1. We're going to go round the outside of Tsunoda if we can, and round the outside of Fernando Alonso. Can we make that stick? Is the traction on the outside? Here comes Sebastian Vettel up the inside too. The Aston Martin wants to get involved with this start here. We are ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda lost another place there to Alex Albon. Now we are on the gearbox of Fernando Alonso, heading down this massive straight. I've mentioned it a lot of times in qualifying. Huge straights. We get a massive slipstream down this straight from the Alpine of Fernando Alonso, using a lot of battery to try and catch Alonso by the end of the straight and into the braking zone. We're wheel to wheel with Alonso, too wide through this tricky left section. Who's going to come out ahead here? And it is going to be us. We get past Fernando Alonso there, and there is some contact in the background. Someone's front wing flying across the track, but we are up into P8. What a start in this race here ahead of Fernando Alonso. I wonder who it was that took damage. I think it might have been Yuki Tsunoda with Alex Albon making contact there in the background. But ahead of Fernando Alonso, using a lot of that battery I've shown you in the last few races. We are really focusing on upgrading our ERS system in the car. Get that battery charge as high as possible every time we go into a braking zone. And you can see now on the back straight, if you want to call it that, I'm just going to call it that for the rest of the video, on the back straight, we've got 94% battery or something to defend against Alonso. This is what we've struggled with all season, having that battery to try and overtake and defend at the same time. But with those 2 or 3 upgrades we've already applied, we're already 4 tenths ahead of Alonso. By the end of this lap, into the chicane, Ricciardo, we're catching on because he's trying to overtake Valtteri Bottas, who actually struggled for pace in qualifying. So it's a miracle to see Bottas so far up the order there. And we actually set a purple sector 3 on lap 1 there, using all of our battery charge and with a bit of free air in front, minus a slipstream from Ricciardo. We set a purple sector in our stinker tractor of a car. Who'd have thought it? Purple car, purple sector. That's what we love to see. But yeah, coming through Eau Rouge and Radion now at the top of the hill. I think the AI glitched on this section because look how slow Ricciardo was at the top of the hill. Maybe he's struggling for grip. We're going to set him up for an overtake here. Make him cover the inside. Can we go around the outside? It's a reverse of what happened with Alonso last lap. Can we go up the outside this time of Ricciardo and stay ahead? We went up the inside of Alonso. Ricciardo goes up the inside of us and he stays ahead. We've also just set a purple sector 1, showing that we actually have a lot of pace here in Spa Francorchamps, setting up the car perfectly for that qualifying session with the low downforce, and just having the speed on the straight is crucial in this circuit. The straight line speed is literally key to this circuit. A little tip for anyone who has not raced here yet. I think we might have went 4 on the front wing for the aero setup, and it was either 8 or 12 for the rear wings, something really low wings. Obviously massive drag reduction there, so obviously having that speed on the straight. And we are now nearly a second ahead of Fernando Alonso from behind us as we head towards the end of lap 2. DRS is going to get activated. We are 1 second ahead of Fernando Alonso. He will not have DRS, and we are actually within someone's DRS range for once. Carlos Sainz setting the fastest lap of the race there. As DRS gets enabled, we set a purple sector 1 and 2 green sectors for lap 2, and we will have DRS on Daniel Ricciardo as we approach this Kemmel straight yet again, using a bit of battery there. You can see we're still keeping that high battery. By now in previous races we would have lost pretty much all of that battery, but coming through Eau Rouge and Radion, slow at the top of the hill again goes Ricciardo. I don't know what was wrong with Ricciardo, if he was struggling for grip up there, or if that is a glitch with the AI, but we seem to be so much faster. Again, setting up Ricciardo. We're trying to go around the outside. It didn't work last time. Will it work this time? We are miles ahead into the braking zone with that DRS and battery charge there. Ricciardo trying to send one back, but we managed to cover off the apex of the next corner, so we can't send it up the inside, and we are ahead of Daniel Ricciardo up into P7. What are we doing here? We are on the wrong side of the world. We are in P7. What is going on? We have so many fast cars behind us. Max Verstappen is somewhere back there. Ricciardo, the McLaren, is faster than us. There's a yellow flag up ahead. You can see Lando Norris in the other McLaren up in P5. That car's definitely got pace. Ricciardo, he's struggling in it though. Alonso in the Alpine, that's a faster car than ours, but as we saw with Esteban Ocon where he qualified, struggling for pace this weekend, the Alpines in this race. And a bit wobbly coming through Eau Rouge and Radion there. This time it is Daniel Ricciardo's turn to use that DRS on us down the straight. But look, because we're saving up that battery, and Max Verstappen out of the session. The Hungarian Grand Prix winner seeing engine failure. This was a brand new engine he put into the car for this race as well. He took that engine penalty to put a new engine in, and Red Bull's reliability issues continue in 2022. Sad time for Red Bull, but as you can see, we have so much battery saved up through these corners that we can actually defend against a car with DRS behind us, and it feels so good. This race felt so good to actually have that. I knew I made the right decision, sacrificing that speed and engine power just to get that ERS upgraded, because we needed that battery to be able to defend against cars. Otherwise, we are sitting duck on straight with DRS as we would have just been then. Using a bit as well to try and push that gap ahead down the straight again, managing to stay ahead. This happened for a few laps, but we do manage to stay ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, but he does keep getting ever so closer. Is that even English? Ever so closer? More close every lap? I don't know. I don't know what the English is there, but yeah, you can see us getting a bit unsettled there, just trying to defend against Daniel, and that this defense against Daniel in the battle with Daniel is allowing Fernando Alonso to catch us up. As we go into this corner now, will Daniel look to make a move? No, he will not, but a very tricky move. Or will he? We've left the door open, we run wide there and bounce over the curb. Ricciardo is ahead into the next braking zone. We're going to have the inside line. Can we try and push Ricciardo wide? Ricciardo round the outside, Ricciardo up the inside now, and there comes Fernando Alonso to join into this battle. It's wheel to wheel still with Daniel Ricciardo. What good racing this is. We are wheel to wheel, very fair racing as we come towards a tricky section now. Ricciardo, look at the grip he has on the outside there. And Ricciardo is ahead up into P7. Fernando Alonso right on our gearbox. He's looking to pull out. We're using that battery charge now to try and ball ahead of Fernando Alonso. And there's a bit of contact there. Our wheels kiss. No damage, luckily. And we're so much faster than Ricciardo. Look at that. We've had to slam on the brakes slightly or just lift off the throttle as we go into the back of Ricciardo there into the chicane. We could have easily sent it ahead of Ricciardo and got ahead, but strategically stayed behind him because of the DRS detection zone coming up. Lewis Hamilton now in the mix behind us. Talk about fast cars behind us. You see there, we have DRS into turn 1, staying ahead of Fernando Alonso. We stay behind Ricciardo on purpose to get that DRS down the home straight and to have DRS for this next section. Alonso struggled for grip on the exit of turn 1, but we managed to get a great exit as we approach the Kennel Straight yet again, and at the top of the hill now, opening that DRS wing to try and attack against Daniel Ricciardo. Don't actually have too much battery left. We don't want to use it all, but can we use enough to try and attack Ricciardo into this? We're wheel to wheel again into the end of the straight. Ricciardo ahead though. Is Ricciardo going to stay ahead? Yes, he is. We get wobbly coming off the curb there. Now Hamilton is ahead of Alonso. We missed that. Hamilton has taken Alonso at the end of the straight. Like I say, that battle between me and Daniel just allowed Alonso to catch up, and obviously with Alonso getting involved, that allowed Lewis to catch up. So there's so much battling going on here in Spa as we massively outbrake ourselves into the chicane there. Ricciardo staying ahead. Hamilton right on our gearbox now as we make a mistake at the end of lap 7 to start lap 8. We're still on the gearbox though. Well, not really on the gearbox, but we're still behind Daniel Ricciardo, still trying to catch him. Like I say, McLaren a faster car, but Ricciardo seems to be struggling, especially at the top of Eau Rouge and Radion. So can we catch him on this straight now? Saved up a bit of battery again, only about 20 or 30%. I can't see the number from where I'm sat, but I think we're on like 27%, I think it says there. Opening that DRS wing again. 4.5 tenths behind Ricciardo. Is that going to be enough to catch him by the end of the straight? We're using pretty much all of our charge here to try and catch him and send one from way downtown. That's a dive bomb. That is a heavy dive bomb, but Ricciardo avoids contact, and we do get ahead. That was a massive dive bomb from way downtown. Steph Curry with the shot, and there goes Daniel Ricciardo again. We mess up, but up the inside now. There's almost contact again. This is reckless driving from me on lap 8, but we're struggling for grip on the tyres, and now Ricciardo's lost another place to Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton now the man behind, but he's wheel to wheel with Daniel Ricciardo. Hopefully those two hold each other up. Two ridiculous lunges from me. Irresponsible driving. If Ricciardo turned in there, he would have made contact for either of those two corners, but luckily no damage taken, no contact with Ricciardo, no damage for either car. And yeah, I was just annoyed. I didn't want to stay behind Ricciardo for much longer. Now Hamilton and Ricciardo going too wide into the chicane. That should cost them both some time, at least we would hope, because they're going to have DRS behind us. Bottas in P6 ahead. We haven't mentioned Bottas for a while in P6, because P6 is currently 11 seconds ahead of us. That looks impossible to catch up to. Will something happen in this race? Safety car? Highly unlikely probably at this circuit. But speaking of the devil, there is a yellow flag. What has happened there? Hamilton ahead of Ricciardo through turn 1. What is that yellow flag? It's going to be one of the Haas cars. I believe this was Kevin Magnussen. We saw Mick Schumacher in qualifying not doing too great, and there goes Kevin Magnussen. He is off the track. Engine failure, the second retirement of this race so far with engine failure. One from the Red Bull and one from a Ferrari power unit. You don't like to see that when you have a Ferrari power unit in your car yourself. Of course, we run the Ferrari, so seeing a fellow Ferrari engine retire from the race, not very nice. But now Hamilton on our gearbox. We're playing defence. We're playing defence the whole race, pretty much. We shouldn't be here. You know, we are a slower car compared to the cars behind. We shouldn't be here. We are on the wrong side of the world, like I said before. And here comes Hamilton now. Look at the speed he got out to that corner as we try and go round the outside. Just no grip for us on the outside. They're really struggling for tyre wear. We really burnt those tyres out in the first few laps, battling with Alonso and Ricciardo. And obviously Hamilton was just chilling at the back, so he's got a lot more rubber, a lot more grip on those tyres. Hamilton, a great drive this weekend in Hungary in real life, and yeah, finished P2 on the podium, so shout out to Lewis Hamilton. And now Ricciardo right on our tail again. Bottas into the pits now on lap 10. You can see those front tyres, 57% on the left front, 55, or what does that say, 56 on the front left, and the rear tyres nearly up at 50% as well. Hamilton into the pits in front of us though, so we dive in after him, and here comes Ricciardo and Alonso, so we're all pitting at the same time. That is good. No undercut, no overcut strategy going on here. Everyone just coming into the pits at the same time. As long as we nail this turn in, which we have, we will or should have a good pit stop. Let's see. There goes Hamilton. He is out left rear, a bit slow, but a 2.5 second pit stop. It's not great, but it's not terrible. Coming out to the pits, still behind Hamilton. Really cold, hard tyres now to go to the end of this race. 11 laps. We come out actually 1.5 seconds ahead of Ricciardo, so he must have had some problems or something in that pit stop, because he was nearly right on our tail as we came into the pits to begin with. But now Lewis, look at the gap Lewis has after the pit stop there. He's only 2 seconds ahead, so we're in that Goldilocks zone, not too close to the car behind and not too close to the car in front. To really struggle on the outlap to get heat into these tyres. You see us understeering still coming through turn 1 there, and Ricciardo right on our tail now, and that's going to cost us. We have no grip coming out to turn 1. Ricciardo nearly 2/10. He was looking to send one, I think, through Eau Rouge and Radion. Going too wide through there is not really a good idea. Tricky section to go through too wide. But Ricciardo 1/10 behind as he opens that DRS wing. It's going to give him so much power on the straights. We're using a lot of our battery to try and give ourselves a lot more power, defending against Ricciardo. Hardly got any battery left. Ricciardo up the inside, and for the right hander now, we're going to park ourselves on the apex. A bit dirty from us, a bit of reckless, not reckless, but a bit dirty driving from me there. I did it on purpose, tried to push Ricciardo as wide as possible. I knew it was my corner, so I let the car run wide and sort of slow down Ricciardo, and it did work. And now Alonso is right on his tail. Yeah, it's a schneid move from me, but it is what it is, you know what I mean? I'm a racing driver. You've got to do what you've got to do sometimes, and that is what we did there. Push Ricciardo wide, and we can see a replay of that now coming through. I think this is the end of the straight. Great wheel-to-wheel action from me and Daniel this race though. Very fair, apart from that last move, very fair and clean racing. You know, to go wheel-to-wheel so many times and not have any contact. I mean, I think there's a few drivers who could learn from that, and you can see us just slowing them down there as we cut across them through that apex. And yeah, like I say, a nice move. But now we're in lap 16, just coasting through this race.
There appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
And that is not what we like to hear. We're in a really good spot. P8, lap 16 of this race. Not many laps left. You know, we're on for points. Another points finish for the team. That would be absolutely huge. But now we've got an issue. And normally when it says that, it means retirement. Let's find out some more.
It looks like we're experiencing an ERS software glitch.
An ERS software glitch. I have never seen that before. You can see in the bottom right, our ERS deployment says that it's locked. We can't actually use ERS, which is the battery charge I've been speaking so much about this race, to try and defend against Ricciardo, who is right on our gearbox still, and we have no weapon to defend against. We're coming towards this straight now. He's going to have a massive slipstream down this back straight, and obviously be able to use his battery, but we're not going to be able to use ours to defend against him. But luckily, Fernando Alonso trying to battle with Ricciardo, slowing them both down a bit. You see them too wide. Ricciardo actually losing a place to Fernando Alonso, and we don't have that battery to defend against Alonso, but into the braking zone. We're going to be okay.
Okay, touch wood, it seems like the fault has resolved itself.
And luckily the issue has fixed itself. Now we can use that battery again for the next lap to defend against Alonso there. But yeah, boys, my heart went. We put a few new engine components into the engine this race as well. I don't know if you've seen that at the beginning when I was talking through qualifying. But yeah, we put a few new engine components in, so when he said there's a problem and there's something wrong and it didn't show straight away in the bottom right on the MFD, I was like, oh god, engine failure. We've had enough of that this season already. We don't need another, especially when we're on for points. But that was plain sailing, them just using that battery to extend the gap to Fernando behind us. And yeah, we are going to cross the line in a moment. Or are we going to mess up into the final chicane? Will there be some late drama, breaking a bit early, because I know that we can afford to take the risk. Coming through now on the throttle. Are we going to spin? No, we are not. We're going to come across the line to finish in P8 at a great result for the team. I think that matches our best results. We got P8 in Austria, I think, was it? We got P10 in Canada, which was a sensational race. Another great race from us. An actual good qualifying session from me. Who'd have thought it? A good qualifying session from me. I don't know what's happened. Spoilers, I let someone else drive this race and I didn't really, but I just actually had a good qualifying session for once. With grid penalties, we got lucky. Max Verstappen nowhere to be seen in that race, of course, because he did retire, but he was starting way back. That would have been another position lost. Unfortunate that Lewis did get past us in the end, but you know, it's Lewis Hamilton. You see the other Mercedes there on the podium. Mercedes, a really good car, really strong driver, and 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, so can't complain. Oh, who's that on the top podium? On the podium, mad. The top podium spot, I meant to say. It's Charles Leclerc. Who'd have thought it? Charles Leclerc winning a race on F1 2022. I don't know why this guy's so OP. Because sorry, Leclerc fans, I can't speak. Why am I trying to tell people when I can't speak? Let me do that again. Run it back. Sorry, Leclerc fans, but Leclerc's not that guy. Leclerc is not that guy. I don't know why he's so OP on this game. It should be Max or Lewis on that podium, top spot every single race. Or maybe Max, just Max. Because Max has got that dog in him. Leclerc does not have that dog in him. I don't know who needs to hear this, but Leclerc does not have that dog in him. Lewis and Max, they're dogs. They are dogs, but nah. Speaking of dogs, Dan Ticktum, he's dog shit because he finished P20. He gained 2 places. Oh, well done, Dan, but it was 2 DNFs. So, yeah, that guy, yeah, Dan Ticktum, he's a punching bag for Sasuke Racing, if you saw last year. Moving up though, P9 in the constructor standings. That's our goal for this season as well, and we're up into a P9, up into P16 too in the driver standings, and a few more races. We might be ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. Who knows? We've got Zandvoort next up, a tricky track for me. I've never really had much pace around Zandvoort, but I'm looking forward to getting into it and seeing where we go or where we can do and qualify in that. Setting Pierre Gasly as our rival because I think he's just the guy we'd be closer to. Lando Norris, very strong on this game. So, yeah, looking to get another drag reduction upgrade here, improve our straight line speed, but I noticed that this upgrade won't come in until just before the Singapore Grand Prix. So we decided to go for a downforce upgrade instead. Obviously, Singapore street circuit, downforce being key for a lot of those tricky corners there. Looking forward to Singapore. You know, I had one of my best races of all time in Singapore, which you can't see on the channel because I deleted the video by accident before I even uploaded it. Yeah, I know, stinker. But next up, Circuit Zandvoort, Max Verstappen's home Grand Prix. Let's get it. I will see you on Wednesday, people. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. You know the vibes. I'll catch us next time. Take it easy.